around in those hills and get lost. See if I can find my way back. Now, I've had the feeling of being watched before and heard something. Oh, there's a halibut right there. Whoa, big one.
That'll take a while. And this is how you come down.
Boxing Day. Me and Adventure Dog escaped the house. Not really to escape it, but we survived it. It was good. My First Nations superhero ladies came over for dinner last night. It was a great time. We talked about so many things. It was ridiculous. I don't think I could remember any specific one. I don't know. I think we tried to go over what the owl man asked them. But there's too much. I do remember one thing that they did say was, you know, if you do experience mind speak of anything, any shape or form, they said that we have control. We are the ones that decide. So they said, if you do experience something like mind speak, then you say no and stop, and they must. And they do. So there you go. Talked about a bunch of other things. I'm not sure if I can share or not, but that was our time, our visit. But one of my lady friends was wondering about sharing a bunch of stuff she's experienced and knows with Dave Pilatus. I wasn't sure because she doesn't want to have anybody come after her that may not want any kind of weird information to get out. So I texted Dave right away last night at the dinner table, and we were texting back and forth. He said something about he's going on a Alaskan Bigfoot cruise in a cruise ship, and asked me if I was going to be around September or something to hook up. And I'm like, not a chance, man. That's elk season. And I haven't texted back yet, but I was thinking of rousing him and saying, come on, Dave. We know it's not a Bigfoot cruise. He's actually doing a sideline as a cocktail lounge singer, probably beside a piano, right? I was going to text that back at him and start rousing the shit out of him, but anyway, lots to share. I pulled up 160 foot of line wire in the pump by hand today. So I'm feeling a little, sit my ass down, and I'm done for the day. And it's funny, you know, there's nothing worse for me personally, and I always tell everybody, you never quit. There's nothing you can't do, right? Because I basically grew up being told I couldn't do much. And I just have this thing in me that tells me, don't tell me I can't do something. Don't tell me I can't do something. It's the worst thing you can do. And I had a friend of mine who is a professional when it comes to water. He took care of basically a Greater Victoria water board. He's a very professional when it comes to water systems, the whole nine yards, large systems. So residential's nothing. And he was telling me, he goes, oh, you can't do it yourself. I'm like, what? Love the guy. He's a great guy, but he's like, you can't do it yourself. I go, why not? No, you need a high ab truck, you need this and that. You won't be able to get the part anyways. And how much is it going to cost? Probably about between 7,500 and 10 grand. I'm like, yeah, hold my beer. So anyway, sure enough, and I was texting him today. I don't think he was overly excited to hear that I pulled that sucker out myself. And he also told me I would have a tough time finding a pump. They probably won't sell me one. Well, it took me about 2 hours, and now I have my new pump. So there you go. I did it myself. And so far, it cost me $600. So there. I know this isn't alcohol, this is water. I sweat my ass off today, but I got it done. Never tell somebody they can't do something, ever. Never. And if somebody tells you can't do something, never believe them, ever. I don't give a shit what it is. Never allow anyone to tell you can't do something. Now, did you guys see that video I just posted up earlier today? It's a weird one. I had one of my external drives, which I have dozens, because I've been filming nonstop for over 20 years, right? And I screwed right up, and I put my feet up while I was waiting for something to render on my program. And I rested my feet right on top of a drive and grinded it and killed it. Did something to it. Anyway, dropped some other ones. So I got this one recovered, and I was going through the files today after I got my stuff down. I'm like, okay, cool. I'm going to go sit on my computer because there's all sorts of stuff that I want to create. I love creating cool outdoor videos, and I just don't have the time. So I just started to do that, and then I saw some clips from a trail camera I left on the river back here, where I am 100% confident I took a pretty good picture of a Sasquatch watching me from the green bushes. I shared that a year ago or more. Same spot. Same spot I had stuff thrown at me. Same spot I had stuff going horizontal behind me. Anyway, I swam to the other side of the river and put the trail camera up, and I was going through those clips. I don't know why. And there's about, on the screen, there's probably, 100 trail camera videos, all in unison of when the camera's triggered. And it's the first time ever I noticed a bright light in the bushes. I'm like, what the hell's that? I'm looking at it, and I look at the time. It goes along, so that light basically came up after dark, bright, and in the trees, and it stayed consistent. I think got a little brighter in the second clip. And then just over 1 hour, it's gone. And a lot of people are going to go, oh, there's probably a car parked there. You can't get a car to where that light is. You can't. And this as well, there's an old gravel road. So if you're looking in the screen of the video I just recently loaded, you're looking at that brightness in the top left corner. Well, if you go above the screen, above the height of the camera view, go up about maybe, I don't know, 25 yards higher, maybe even 30, and then go straight back 90 degrees, about 300 yards, excuse me, behind even more forest, and that's where the old gravel road is. Whatever, it's another trail camera video, big deal, bright, glowing light in the forest. There you go, but I thought I'd share, because I know there'd be some people are interested in the things that I catch on video. Do I give a shit? You know I don't. But there you go. I thought I'd share that anyway. That's my commentary on that one. Pouring rain again. Now, everybody's probably about 10 pounds heavier since yesterday at this time. Stuffed a turkey or ham or whatever you did. And I'm going to read some recent emails. All right, they're pouring in. Lots of people are getting knee-jerk to send them in. This is titled, Bigfoot Attacks Alaska U.S. Base. How's that for an attention grabber title? Steve, this is a friend's story. I believe he has been silenced by the government. Read freely. There's no names or information that need to be protected. This is a mind blower. I worked hard to get this in text so you can read it. I do believe it to be 100% true. It should be very helpful to many. There is 3,700 words. Average reading is 30 minutes. This is a hard story to read. It is all first person. He speaks mainly as a full run on sentences. I've tried to add commas and periods to help it flow. Good luck reading it. It is a whopper. I'm all in, my friend. Let's get into it. Title, 3D holograph that covers the entire base. Hello there, people. I figured I'd like to tell a strange but true story. Okay, a strange but true story of when I was in the military. I went to join the military in 1980, and I was in the American Marine Corps. I got into basic. I told them what I want to be, and they sent me to Marine Base. Once I got there, we go through all the dialogue and everything, and get settled in, and then we go to take a test to see what we are good at and what we aren't good at. Well, they asked me if I wanted to be a special ops program. I said, sure, why not? I'm in the Marines. Why not do special ops? So I'm trained as a sniper, and I graduated 5th in my class. I wasn't quite that good, but you know I was like in the top 10. I was good at hand-to-hand, and in the test they said each test that was given to each soldier was specified for that soldier's life before they got in the military. Mine was on a farm, and they asked me specifically a question: what happens when a predator got in and stole your livestock? I said, I shot him between the eyes. That's the answer I put. So they questioned me further. And when I told them what I meant by that, meaning it was a Sasquatch outside, they looked at me like I was insane. Right? Really? Yeah. We've done everything to deter these creatures from stealing livestock and standing out in the crops and stuff, but it wasn't working. It wasn't even possible. So we had to put them down. They asked, well, how did you know to shoot them between the eyes and not in the eyes? I said, well, my first thought was to shoot them in the eye. So I shot a round off and hit it right dead center in the eye, and nothing happened. All I did was make it mad and growl. So I did it again. And I shot another eye, and this thing wasn't going down that way. So I figured I'm going to hit it right dead center between the eyes. It's got to be somewhere in the head. So I took the shot, and I dropped him. He just dropped like a sack of taters. They said, very good, Private. You go back to your barracks, and you know we'll be talking more about this later. I was wondering why they would be talking about me. They looked at me like I'm nuts. Moving along here, a couple days later, the staff sergeant came to me and said, Wilbur, you're wanted over in the doc's office. When I walked in there, I thought I was going in for a physical or something, but instead there was a general standing there with a couple other officials that I've never seen before. They were civilian, but they were military officials. The general said, son, would you like to go to a special base? I see you put down I see you put down here, you're in for 5 years. I said, yeah, why not? He said, at 0400 hours, I want you on that DC-10 out there. Yes, sir, I said. Where am I going? That's a need to know basis. What am I going to be doing? That's a need to know basis. So me and 40 other privates get on the DC-10 the next morning with all our gear. We go from that base to undisclosed location, which I can tell you now is dubbed the Alaskan Triangle. So we get there, we're flying over top of all these trees and stuff. We're 500 miles in the middle of nowhere. I mean, there's no villages, nothing around us. And we are in the Huey, which is a big helicopter. We switched from the DC-10 to a couple of Hueys because we couldn't land the DC-10. The runway wasn't big enough. We transferred planes at a different base. When we came up to the Alaskan base, we were getting the radio in, and I asked, where the hell are you landing? The pilot said, right here. I said, dude, there's trees there. We're on top of the trees. You can't land there. You're going to kill us. You're nuts. So I put my feet on the stabilizers. I grabbed the stick and I grabbed the throttle and I said, man, I'm taking over. Right then I hear click, click, click. The MPs had guns at my head. Private, get back there. I was trained to fly a Huey as part of my training being a Marine. No, we're landing right here. We're about 600 feet over the treetop, over the canopy, and we started going down, down, down. And here comes the treetops, and I mumbled, okay, this guy's gonna kill us. And all of a sudden we go through like what's a holograph. Now back in 1980, we didn't have technology for 3D holographs. We still don't have that. When we got down below the 3D holograph, it covered the entire base in which you can see the entire base. At one end of the base is this pyramid with a glowing blue light that emanated from it. Being a good private, I said, sir, what is all this stuff here? He said, it's all need to know basis. Okay, I was a mouthy as hell private. So anyway, we get debriefed. You know you are in one of the most top secret bases known to the military officially. And even today, officially the base does not exist. This is why they never declassified the base, because they never classified it. How can you classify something that doesn't exist? So, we're in a top secret military installation. Have no idea where we landed. I know it was not a regular base. They have these weird looking ships. They had this big black triangle ship that was just floating there. It was huge, you know, and around the entire perimeter of the base was this 40-foot high fence made of some kind of material I've never seen before. No one ever has, and it was strange. So of course, no one's going to answer my questions of what this stuff was. So we go. We go to our bunks, we unpack, we come back to get debriefing. You guys are all here as a security detail. You are to guard the base from the enemy. We weren't even at war with anybody, not in Alaska. Okay, so we're walking the perimeters where we watch these big boulders hitting and being thrown at the fence. It's like something or someone was testing the strength of the fence. Every time the fence was hit, it was like it gave off a little electronic zap, like it was electrified or something. It was definitely different. So after a month, it takes a good couple hours to walk the span of the perimeter for everything's secure. We come back, we report secured. Now you got to walk the outside. Huh? Well, okay, that's part of my job. So we go out there. They gave us these rifles that were not like no rifle I've ever seen. They made the M16s look like pea shooters. They were nothing that the civilian market has or the civilians even know about, because they were alien technology, and that's all I can say about that. So we watched the perimeter. I'm like, why the hell do we have this weird looking weapon? We're watching the perimeter. They keep throwing rocks. I've seen Sasquatch before, a 9-footer. They're pretty tall, pretty big. You know, these things were 16 to 24 feet, and that is no joke. These things were effing monstrous. That was the answer for the 40-foot fence. Apparently, years ago, these creatures attacked the base and literally ripped the humans apart and ate them. They've had a chase for human blood since. Since now we didn't know this, we were out there. While we're walking, we see these things flying, these creatures flying around with these big red eyes. One of the guys in my unit said, those are Mothmen. I said, Mothmen? So where the F are we? We get back from walking the outside of the perimeter and checking everything. We just see these creatures. They really don't do anything to us. You know, they just look as we look at them. It's all cool, you know, and especially now how big they were. I think even if I tried to shoot at one of these creatures, since it was so big, it probably would not even phase it. So we get back, we check in, okay? And I tell the captain, we've seen some crazy stuff out there. We've seen a Sasquatch out there. It's taller, twice as tall as I've ever seen. And we've seen these things flying around with these big red eyes. That one of the guys said was a Mothman, he said. Well, you weren't seeing things because that's what these creatures were. This is where everyone's confused at this point. They weren't aggressive towards us. They weren't aggressive towards us. Well, it was a daytime perimeter check. We don't find this out till later. They don't become aggressive until night. Anyways, we come back in and report everything is cool. Here's the biggest shock. These gray alien creatures are our precious people that we are guarding. Out walk these 4-foot gray alien creatures, quote, Asgar, end quote. Now, you've heard the name Asgar and many, many science fiction TV shows that have had that name. That's where they got the name from. How they got the name, I don't know. But I've always believed that all these sci-fi shows, there's 1% truth. And that's the 1% proof. And no, they don't have any beaming me up technology. They said that technology is way beyond their advancements. In fact, they say no race has it because they've been all over the universe. Well, I never paid much attention to these great creatures. I just accept after a while they were. You get used to them after a while. You know, they're just like people, but when they speak to you, their mouth doesn't move because they speak to you in telepathy. So we're trying to figure out what's going on here. We go back to the barracks. Actually, we go to the mess hall to get some chow, and one of the guys from my unit stood up and said, these guys are messing with us. These guys are effing with us, man. This shit isn't real. Those are people in costume, made up, and actors. Everyone thought for sure that it was just a military sense of humor. Well, we thought it was a sense of humor. We found out about midnight when these creatures started attacking and becoming aggressive on the gate that it wasn't a joke. That would explain all the 50 caliber machine guns lined up and down the fence. Those are where the weapons that we need all night, those are where the weapons that we need all night long to defend against these creatures. From trying to climb the fence and weasel the way to get us, to get their dinner. We're their dinner. And because we're their dinner, they did everything they could. Now we kept them pretty much at bay, so we thought. Then these Mothmen out of nowhere started flying overhead, dropping rocks and boulders and stuff on us. It was almost like we were fighting a strategic battle against a human being. These creatures are intelligent enough to do a strategic battle plan. It just was hard to explain. These creatures are intelligent as we are. They don't speak our language, but they are as intelligent as we are. Oh, here's a soggy doggy. Someone left the gate open and these creatures got in, and we started opening fire. Grenades and everything. These creatures are very hard to kill, extremely hard. So finally I remember how I killed the one right between the eyes. So the one creature that we killed, I had to empty one full ammo box of 50 cal magazine into it. This one creature and 3 other were targeted. The 3 big ones, the 3 giant ones, the 24-footer, we got them down, and once you're down, all these other creatures started cannibalizing them and started cannibalizing the soldiers that were there. What they do is they rip their prey apart. They eat the intestines and the heart and the liver, and they leave the rest. It's all for the protein parts of the body, for the nutrients. That's where the nutrients is. So while they were distracted feeding on the things that we killed and our soldiers that they killed, I got on the radio and said, guys, grab your sniper rifle. It's 1 shot, 1 kill. These creatures go down with 1 between the eye. And sure enough, while they were distracted feeding, we started just popping these things off one at a time, right between the eyes. There must have been 75 or 80 of these things. I lost count. Finally, we got the last one down. Excuse me. And then we was able to go and secure the gate so no more could come in. because there was plenty more out there. It was almost like they were coming in droves. But we got the gate shut, lost some life. 20 or 40 people in the unit lost their lives. May they rest in peace. I, on the other hand, survived it. It was my quick thinking that saved what was left. So we spent 3 or 4 days cleaning it up. The base and all the bodies, we threw all the bodies in one big pile and burned everything. And those creatures are very heavy. We had to have a couple of trucks tow one to the burning pile. I mean, they're 2,000 pounds easy, especially the big ones. Mothmen are like vegetarians, but they will attack, they will attack. But they will attack, they will attack. This is where it gets weird. The captain was killed, so everyone looked up to me. I was by then a staff sergeant, so people were looking up to me, and I didn't really know how to command. I would never really learn to command position. So what happened was I had a call, and I figured out what I was doing, how I was going to command these guys, and that's when the Asgard creature came up to me and said, Staff Sergeant Wilbur. And I said, yes. He said, follow me. I was told in case of an emergency, I would show you what to do. Now you tell me after everyone's dead, you now take me into the pyramid. First time I've ever been in there. And he says, you have to press this button. So I pressed the button. It was the evacuation button. So I pressed it, and I waited for a response. It had a light, and it was not on. I was waiting for it to come on. It wasn't until 3 to 4 days later that someone responded, and the light came on. So here comes this evacuation team now. The evacuation team had these special suits they were wearing, and they have some really tripped out helicopters. They're a futuristic helicopter, jets on them, everything. No Healy helicopter has anything like that. Remember now, this is 1985. And the cat gets out and says, are you Staff Sergeant Wilbur? And I said, yes. I'll probably meant the captain gets out. How do you know? We keep in contact, huh? Okay, the whole thing just blew my mind. That whole base blew my mind. So, they evacuated all of us. All scientists except for the Greys. They wanted to stay behind to finish their project, whatever they were working on. We never knew what they were working on. So we get in a helicopter, and they said, you have a meeting in Washington, D.C. You're supposed to fly, you and your unit, to Washington, D.C. And so, great, I finally get to meet Reagan in person. So we get there, it's about an 8-hour flight. Not anymore. It's only about 2.5 to 3 hours from Alaska to Washington, D.C. 2.5, 3 hours, those things, new choppers, they can move. They can move like the wind. So we get to Washington, D.C., and we land on the White House lawn. We go in, and we all enter the Oval Office. There's 20 of us, so the Oval Office, it isn't as big as what it looks like on TV. It's rather quite small. So we're in there. The captain that was in charge of all this, or the captain and lieutenant, said, okay, soldiers stand on your feet and salute the president as he walks in. Well, here comes this short guy. We have no idea who he was. So we just sat there. And the captain was like, all you soldiers want to be court-martialed. Sorry. The captain was like, all you soldiers want to be court-martialed. You guys stand, salute the president. No, we don't. Where is he? Where's Reagan? Now we don't see Reagan anywhere. That's when we found out it was 20 years later. When we left the base in 1985, the same day we got to the White House, it was 20 years later. A time distortion. Bringing us up to a new time level. Bringing us up to computers and cell phones. No wonder I couldn't find a payphone anywhere. Couldn't find payphones anywhere. They didn't have any. These people had cell phones. That's why I don't know how to edit a computer. I'm not computer savvy. I'm still trying to learn stuff, trying to catch up. Now people think that the story is bogus. Well, if the story is bogus, why did I receive the Medal of Valor for saving my platoon? You tell me. The end of his story. Steve, you're the first to read this transcript. It is the first and original written transcript. This is the first time this story has been read to the public. Well, that was it. He does have the medal. I've seen it. He is not into talking about this. He has about 200 videos on YouTube, but only one on the story. Maybe you can ask him to write you. Thank you, Steve, for bringing out the truth on this. God bless Anonymous. This is optional, Steve. You want to read it in full or part, shout out, or add to the description. Thanks to YouTube channel for composing this and getting me this story. All right, I'll check it out after. That's quite the story. It's quite the story. That was a long one, and once I've donated this kind of time to an email, I'm going to the end of it, right? Because I don't have time to restart if I think it might be a little bit loopy. Do I think that happened? First of all, I always say it doesn't matter what I think. It does not matter what I think, all right? Everybody's on their own ride. So, what I can say with confidence, first, as usual, is take from it what you will or leave it. If this actually went down and one man was able to squeak out this story, there's going to be others that can as well, right? Is it a believable story? Of course it's not. It sounds absolutely freaking outrageous, right? But once you've gotten this deep, as the most of us have, once you have seen some of the absolute insanity that most of us have seen that isn't supposed to be real, then you have to give everything a little bit of a possibility. You just never freaking know, right? I don't know. I haven't a clue who sent this in. I don't know who these people are. I don't know. But somebody sure went out of their way to write that one out, didn't they? You know, I did have one a while ago. I did absolutely gong, and I didn't share. Only because, in a way, I had somebody forwarded me a video from another channel. Sarah's making rude faces at me, walking by to feed the horses. Anyway, but somebody forwarded me email that was shared on another channel. And I listened to it, because it apparently happened in British Columbia. Excuse me. And it went on, this person went on to say they're an ex-RCM police officer, they're writing in from Florida, and you're the first time people of first place have chose to share this story. What he wanted to say was they came across some Sasquatches that had a bunch of people in tow up in the mountains above Hope or something, British Columbia, and that one of the Sasquatches started violating one of the humans and a whole bunch of other stuff, and then it went on to say that they backed out of there, got organized, got some 50 cows and started dumping these things and killing them and saved all the people. And then, then I had a whole bunch of people I had a whole bunch of people emailing me, Steve, you got to hear the story. You got to hear the story. My tummy, my guts were saying, come on. And then I forwarded, and then finally it was like, I think maybe 2 or 3 months later, I get an email from the author who said to me, Steve, you're the first person I've ever chose to share the story. And it was the exact same story that I'd heard shared on another channel 3 months previous, right? And then So I forwarded the email that he sent me, and right away I text Dave Plias, I sent it to him. I go, dude, check this shit out. What do you think? And right away he comes back and he goes, listen, in all of my years investigating, which, you know, he investigated the shit out of the Sasquatch topic. He said he never, ever once came across any researchers that were harmed by a Sasquatch, ever. And he does not put any blame on any Sasquatch beings for the disappearance of any human, period. And then I replied with, well, he did screw up by saying that I was the first person he chose to share the story, when meanwhile he did that to another channel 3 months ago. And then Dave replied and said, right? End of story, never shared the story. So there you go. That is one time I read a well read out, almost fantasy-like story, and my guts were burning. I'm like, something's up here. I mean, my guts aren't burning with this story, but let's face it, this story is right the hell out there, right? But who knows? Maybe it's factual. I don't know. We don't know. Maybe somebody's going to send us some more that backs it up. Maybe. But it sounds odd that a person that would go through this, who didn't have any contact with technology and came into our time from 1980 or 85, and all of a sudden they're instantly capable of having a YouTube channel and videoing, posting 200 videos. I don't know myself. But anyway, there you go. I put a lot of our time was taken out to listen to that one. We did. And there's the commentary on it. Take from what you will or leave it, all right? If something else comes along our way that really backs this story up, let's hear it. Now, let's read another one. Next one's titled Deer Season Squatch. Here's a short encounter while hunting in a blind. Last year I had a small stones or something else hit the top of the blind. Sasquatch was the first thought, but I passed it off as something else since that was the only time this happened. This year has been a different experience. First was 2 whoops to my right, then about 20 minutes later, a large tree fell on the hill in front of me. There was no wind, chainsaws over there that confirmed a Sasquatch encounter for me. My hunting buddy asked me about all of it, so I told him my concerns of a Sasquatch. He never questioned me, but the tree falling was a concern to him as well. The following week, things got a bit more interesting. I was an hour before dark and I heard a loud bird in the same area as the whoops the week before. 5 minutes later, I heard a loud, deep bark to my left. The birds and bark didn't sound normal. I asked my buddy if he heard them also, and he did. None of us could identify the bark. We've hunted together for over 30 years, and these events aren't normal. Since these events, I won't go to my blind so early and haven't heard anything by going in later. Here's my other thought about Sasquatch being in there, is that we no longer are seeing any sign of deer or on the 4 trail cams either. While bow hunting, I carry a .41 Magnum now. I don't want to draw my weapon on a Sasquatch in fear of that not being a good idea. That's my story for now, Central Ohio. Okay, man, there you go. The no deer thing's quite odd. I lived that no deer, one of my best spots, but then again, there was a wolf on every single frickin' trail I was on for I don't know how long. And then we took care of that problem, and then 3 years later, the deer back. So, keep us posted, man. Keep us posted. These are all recent too, by the way. Recently sent in to me. What do we got? Too strange not to share. All right. Hi, Steve. Sorry if this is long. Glenn Gunn is my name. Use it. I'm Albertan. Been around for 57 years all over Canada. We moved every 3 to 4 years due to the old man's work growing up. The last 35 years here in Alberta. A little background because it matters. I was in the transport industry for 30 years, dispatch and operations mostly. Trucks in Alberta and BC and the island. But going everywhere in the US and Canada. My best friend who led me to your channel, my best man, as I was his, friends for life. Now we live in the same house after life. I trust this man with my life. We're the 2 last remaining people on this planet that can outwork anyone and still search for the truth about everything. He trucked long haul for many years, been to practically every point in the US and Canada. I dispatched him for a few years back in the day. We were having coffee one morning when this topic came up. He explained to me that he had seen these beings twice. Once in Northern Ontario and once in Ypress, Alberta, Wypress, Alberta, just northwest of Calgary in the foothills. I perked up and mentioned the time I was an hour east of Meadow Lake, Saskatchewan, fishing with my ex-wife's grandfather, his brother, and a friend of theirs. 4 A-type guys sitting at a campfire right near the lake. We were secluded, no one there. Something was walking in a semicircle around us. Of course, a black bear was mentioned. It was left at that. I now know what it was. Flashlights on, nothing there. I have his, bracket, lifelong friend, bracket, permission to tell this last story. By the way, he can't wait to get a Club No Return hoodie, me as well, along with a couple of hats. So, he was heading west from Alberta with a load for the VR area. VR. West from Alberta. Vernon? It was a little west of Salmon Arm, around 2 in the morning. Keep this in mind when I tell you, this guy has driven for 35 years, 0 accidents, the real deal. He explained to me that he was driving up on something huge. Believe me when I say I would not believe it if not from him. He said it was a man. 20 to 30 feet tall. His words, tall as a light post. He went on to explain that this fellow was a red-headed, bearded man. He made it clear that he was wearing what we would call, Leder Hosen. Leder Hosen, like a German with suspenders, Oktoberfest. I was dumbfounded. First reaction and questions, were you tired? No. Was it a tall figure erected for a theme park? No. Then he told me his sixth sense. Told him not to look at this being as he drove by it. He couldn't even look at his mirrors. Back at it. Steve, when I was told this truth, I was dumbfounded. I believe him because it's true. Can't wait for the new garb. You have two very A-type guys that appreciate what you do. I'm not religious, but I hope you and yours have an incredible holiday. P.S. I want Ruby's first puppy. Take care, Glenn. Okay, man. There's another one, dude. There's another one that makes everybody go, what? Seems to be the theme of today's shares, doesn't it? Who knows? I don't know. I wasn't there. But I'll tell you what. All right, well, somebody near there has seen the same thing. They're probably, let's just say people are seeing this, what they described. If you've seen that in your headlights going down the highway, how many people would you just can't wait to tell everybody what I've seen with that description, right? Yeah, that'd be a tough one to wrap your melon around, and even a tougher one to share publicly if you were to see something of that description. But unfortunately, we've had the description of similar sized beings, red-headed, from around the world, other side of the world now, right? So I don't know. And how would I, as my brain tries to wrap my head around this, how do you wrap your head around that shit? I don't know. If there is a veil which may be thinning here and there, that would explain a lot, right? There's a parallel existence going on, which I'm really, really leaning towards for sure. Then that would explain a lot, and that would as well make it possible, make anything possible, right? I don't know. I wasn't there. Take from it will you will or leave it. But if you went down that same strip of road around the same time and saw the same shit, comment about it in the comment section below or email me about it, because I want to hear about it. Man, there's some crazy ass shit being reported today, isn't there? All right. Moving down the line. Mark, this is red. What do we got here? Bigfoot on NC. Steve, this is going to be a long email. My name is Paul Jewell, and I don't give a rat's ass if you use my name. I live in a fairly rural part of North Carolina. My wife of 26 years passed away October 25th, 2021. Sorry to hear that, man. Unexpectedly. She was my ride or die girl. So I'm an emotional and mental wreck. I'll try to do my best to make this make sense and hopefully easy to read. About 15 years ago, in our previous home, still in North Carolina, my wife and I are in our room, almost asleep. We heard an enormous thud on the side of our house. My son and I went outside to see if some wise ass hit the side of our home. Not likely, since there are only 4 homes in Gravel Road and the end of our land right up against a large patch of woods. We walked outside and started to walk around the back of my workshop and heard an enormous growl, unlike anything I've ever heard. We decided it was a good time to get back inside. Another night, my wife and I were outside grilling out. After we ate, we were inside my workshop / bar having a few cold beverages when we decided to call it a night. We exited the workshop and I scanned the property with the flashlight. My wife said, "What was that?" I shined my light back and there were 2 sets of eye shine about 4 feet off the ground. We started to walk down there. I had a 9mm with me, and when we got about 75 yards from the eyes, one of the sets stood up. I couldn't make out a lot of detail. I couldn't make a lot of detail out, except the eyes went around went from around 4 feet to around 7 feet. I stepped in front of my wife and I told her to go to the house, but don't run. I walked backwards to make sure it didn't come at us. It did not. It stayed there. We had 3 miniature dash hounds. One right there. Sorry, you guys. We had 3 miniature dash hounds one night there. Were raising hell. They were on our deck that was 9 feet off the ground. There was a baby goat on the deck, so the dogs... There's a baby gate. These glasses got shit all over them, I think. Maybe I'm just a dumbass. There's a baby gate on the deck, so the dogs couldn't get off. I opened the door to see what they were barking at, and 2 of the 3 hauled ass in the house. I couldn't find the 3rd one. I made sure the gate was closed. It was. So my son and I got 2 flashlights and went looking for him. We thought maybe he jumped the gate and went down the stairs. We found him in our backyard near the woods, dead. No bite marks, no signs of another dog attacking him, but dead nonetheless. That sucks. My son and daughter were in the living room one night, and my wife and I were in the bed, and I heard them yell. So I went in there to see what was going on, and both of them said that something was looking in the window at them, and it looked like a black wolf head staring at them. The window on that side of the house is over 8.5 feet at the bottom of the window. They also saw a creature one afternoon standing at the end of our backyard just outside the start of the woods and said it was a black wolf standing on its back legs, watching them. They said it had to have been at least 9 feet tall. We decided it would be a good idea to sell the house. We bought a home on a nice piece of land at an unbelievable deal, but it had to be completely redone. My wife wanted it done like a rustic cabin, and that's exactly how I have done it. Unfortunately, she never got to see it completed due to the complete neglect and misdiagnosis from the hospital. Oh, that sucks, man. Steve, have your 6 anytime you need it. If you're ever in North Carolina, you need any backup, or just want to eat some Carolina barbecue and have a couple of beers, I got you either way. Keep spreading the truth, brother. In loving memory of Teresa Jewell, 080376 to 102521. You will forever be my always. Oh, that sucks, man. It really, really sucks, especially when it didn't have to happen, right? But I can't dictate this to anyone, but for me, we see each other again in the end. I have myself absolutely convinced of that. That's just for me, though, right? But that's unfortunate. And the 9-foot-tall wolf thing, you guys know my stance on that one. I'm not into it. I'm not into it at all. You put a 9-foot thing with a wolf's head on it in my back 40 staring me down, it's game on. I don't give a shit what anybody says. I get tons of you email me, don't do it, they're never alone, don't do it, and if you do it, they're gonna get revenge. Well, guess what? I believe me to be just as scary as them. So, no, I'm not bending over for nothing in my back 40 if it's staring me down. It's not gonna happen. Anyway, sorry about that little rant. What else do we have? Uh-oh, here we go. It's the title, Shit-Eating Government. Uh-oh. Hi, Steve. I love your channel. I've been following your channel for at least a year. Please bear with me. My grammar and punctuation is not the best. My name is Joe, and I'm 41 years old from a small town in southern Ontario called Hagersville. The Big Tire Fire. Anyways, I want to let you and all your viewers, especially from Canada, know that the government is coming to our homes and demanding our firearms. It has happened to me in the beginning of December. At 9 p.m. on a Monday night, I get a phone call when my wife answered the call. At 9 p.m. on a Monday night, I get a phone call. When my wife answered the call, dropped. 2 minutes later, there's a knock on the door. When I opened the door, there were 2 plainclothed officers from our county, badges drawn, asking in detail where my firearms were. They listed 90% of what I have in my arsenal. I was shocked. I am a licensed law-abiding citizen who practices gun safety and never had any problems with law enforcement. They were here for my so-called assault rifle and pistols. but I bought every single firearm legally in this country. I have never registered any weapon. I'd like to know how they knew what I had. They told me I haven't renewed my license, so they needed to take them. But the crazy thing is, I'm good until January 2023, and I sent renewal in 3 days before they showed up. Long story short, I'm not getting my AR nor my SKS back according to them, and possibly certain pistols. I thought we lived in a free country. At least that's what they tell us. I plan to move far north and live off the land. As far as I am concerned, they can kiss my ass. Thanks for putting up with me and listening to my rant. You're the man. Never stop searching for the truth. And any chance you can, stick it to the shit show we call the government. P.S. F. Trudeau. There you go, coming to you live from Communist Canada-stan. Right? What do we got to say about that? Well, I don't know. I sold all my guns. Right? I sold all my guns. The biggest mistake you did right there was you let them take them. That's the shitty deal. You see, in the beginning, we formed a group of people called the government to work for us and make things better. And then all of a sudden something happened. They started dictating shit to us, telling us what we could or couldn't do, telling us where we could travel, we couldn't travel, telling us we could jam in our bodies, telling. And if you don't, they're going to send their goon squad for you, those filthy, sleazy pricks, not all of them, but there is a lot of them who are actually, they are not here to protect the people. They are only a tool to protect the government and to be used as a violent tool against good, honest, law-abiding people. And that's a fact, and that's what's going on. So, if I had any guns that the government thought that they needed and I couldn't have anymore, well, I probably would have got rid of them a long time ago. Right? You don't give your guns up. If you're a law-abiding, good, law-abiding citizen, you're not a criminal. And the stooges, the absolute filthy, dirty, soulless skidbags who are willing to do the dirty work of criminals come to your house and demand you to give you your property, you tell them to go F himself. And you get all your neighbors there at the same time. You get everybody in your community to shout them down and boot them down the street. That's what should be done. That's what any good, solid, strong community in the world would do, right? You take those violent, sleazy, soulless, spineless cowards who are only a tool of violence for the government, and you get your community together and you make them go away, right? That's what you do. But anyway, here we are on YouTube. Who knows who's watching me right now, right? Just wait for me to say something that can knee-jerk the shitbags to come to my house. It's frustrating times. It's frustrating times, right? It's frustrating times. I can bite my lip right now on this channel. But anyway, yeah, I got nothing I got nothing to say about that right now except for anybody out there who willingly becomes the tool of a corrupt government to be used against the good people. I hope, pray that you get what's coming to you, especially in my lifetime, because I want to see it, or even partake in it somehow. Got to stop the evil, man. We got to stop the corruption. The corruption around the globe right now is right out of control and in our faces, and nobody's doing shit that I can tell. There's a lot of people become aware. There's a lot of people pointing the finger. Look at this, look at this, look at this. Look what they did today. Look what they did today. 2 years later, look what they did today. 3 years later, look what they're doing today. Yeah, I get it. I got it the first time they pulled criminal acts. Anyway, possibly I should be shifting my energy and time toward finding the right people, possibly millions of people that need to band together and right the wrongs of the evil, right? Anyway, I'm babbling. It's been a long few days. Barbara needs more sleep. I gotta bite my lip. So, on that word, that was quite the variety of shares, wasn't it? Some were right the frickin' hell out there, right? But who knows? I don't know. Who knows? There's so much crazy shit going on. I don't know. Will we know? As long as we don't quit, we will know. As long as we don't quit. As long as we do not quit speaking the truth, we will know. I think we're finding out a lot of shit as it is, right? We've come a long way. But as long as we don't stop, don't quit, keep talking, keep sharing the voices, right? Keep making the people priority and number one. You make the voice of the people the only voice to be heard. You kick the paid off mainstream media to the curb. Don't give it 10 seconds of time. And if everybody did that, it would be absolutely gone. The government would not be able to benefit from it. And the government would not be able to control the amount of people that they control today. All you have to do is kill their tools. And their tool is the bought and paid for mainstream news and the public education system. Anyway, I gotta bite my lip. I'm really starting to go on a rant, aren't I? This is Rumble Channel shit, right? I'll get on it. I'll get on there. I'll start sharing what I have for remedies for sure. But in the meantime, let's get back on track here for the people who need to be brave, come forward with their knowledge, speak openly, and regain their chances to have a full life and appreciate and pursue all their passions they can now and not get them ruined because of lack of education from the real world, right? Man, I wonder if I'm even making sense the last 10 minutes. Anyway, I'm going to go, and I'll be back. Nothing's going to stop me. I'll be back.